Hi, my name is Mike Gillard, and this is Self-Made Man, the podcast for men who want to leave their mark on the world and create a legacy of honor, integrity, and achievement in every aspect of their lives. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it is time to forge your destiny. When I come across a story like Joel Brown's here today, I am all ears. Over the past 4 years, Joel took a simple idea, he combined it with zero experience, and created one of the largest blogs in the world with over 52 million views. And that blog is addictedtosuccess.com. You know, when pursued as a business, blogging is one of the most misunderstood and most challenging online business models that you could possibly choose. You see, a blog can be an extremely valuable part of a business, but it is almost never the entire business. So for the vast majority of us, myself included, a blog is an extremely effective platform for posting valuable content, and that content can be used to build and maintain a relationship with our audience, just like I use the blog at mikedillard.com for. But to try and turn a blog into an entire business, well, that is a feat that only a few, like Mashable and Addicted to Success, have accomplished. And why is that? Well, it's because it's not designed to convert visitors into customers. And if your website is not designed to convert, you can't buy advertising. And if you can't buy advertising, the growth of your blog is completely dependent upon your blood, sweat, tears, and the slow, excruciatingly uncontrollable process of organic traffic growth. But it gets worse. On top of that, the primary source of revenue for an information-centered website like a blog is display ad revenue, which pays an average of around $3 per 1,000 visitors. Think about that. Think about how much of a challenge it is right now for you to get 1,000 visitors to your website, how much content you would have to create to do that, how much time would go into that content for a whopping return of $3 that you'd get paid 2 months later. So when it comes to your return on efforts invested, a blog is probably the most unrewarding business model on the internet, which is what makes Joel's story that much more impressive. He's one of the very few who has cracked the code, and you're going to hear exactly how he did it right now on this episode of Self-Made Man. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are going to be talking to Mr. Joel Brown, and Joel is the owner and founder of one of the most popular blogs in the entrepreneurial space, Addicted to Success, with tens and tens of millions of page views since he started it from the beginning. We've got Joel here joining us from the other side of the world. So welcome to the show, my friend. I appreciate you coming on.
Mike, thanks a million for having me, man. I really appreciate you bringing me on this show. I'm a big fan of being a self-made person. So look, I'm excited to be a part of this with you.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much. And if you could, let everybody know where you're calling in from today.
Yeah, I'm actually out here in Bali, Indonesia. Right now, I've been out here for a few weeks. I actually just got married in Positano out in Italy around about 5 weeks back now. So, yeah, we did the whole kind of Euro trip thing. And then, yeah, we're out here in Bali, Indonesia. It's absolutely beautiful out here. No complaints, man. I can work from anywhere, you know, and really enjoy the laptop lifestyle out here for sure.
Well, that's what we are going to be discussing today. Really, it's your story here in the beginning, and then I would love to dive into the success behind your blog, addictedtosuccess.com, and that's with the number 2, guys, not the word. And, you know, right now, you've got 320,000 fans on Facebook. You've got almost 700,000 followers on Twitter, 20,000 YouTube subscribers. And I would love to really crack the code that you discovered in order to make a blog, your blog, as successful as it's been, because a blog is deceptively, I'll just put it this way, a blog is very deceptive, meaning that it's so easy to start, and there's a lot of people who talk about how to start a business based on a blog, but there's very, very, very few people who have built one up to the level that you have, and I would love to dive into your strategy and how you did that today. But first, let's start with, your story. Where are you from? How old are you? How did you become an entrepreneur? And take us back to the beginning and dive in.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks. So I'm 28 years old now. I started Addicted to Success when I was around about 23. We're nearly getting close to 5 years now that it's been up and running. And at that point in my life, I was a little bit of a low point. I was working in a 9-to-5 job in corporate doing sales for a telecommunications company. And actually the CEO of the company, invited a speaker to come in and do a little sales workshop with us. And this speaker was actually Jordan Belfort, who they call the Wolf of Wall Street. So this is before, the big movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and his book was out and it was a bestseller. And, I've always been into self-development. I was reading a lot of the Tony Robbins books, Brian Tracy, T. Harv Eker, Jack Canfield, and so on. And, I really was excited for him to come because I was like, this would be interesting, to hear it from a sales point of view. So I had the opportunity to sit in the workshop for 2 days, and I had the opportunity to speak to Jordan in between. And it was cool because he really challenged me on thinking about my goals and my future and really casting my vision for success. And I found it interesting because, going through high school or, college or whatever you guys call it out there in the US, we were told to set goals, but we never really went as deep as casting your vision and, what are you going to do day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year to get where you need to be. And he really just opened my eyes and opened my mind, and he asked me, what do you value most, and what are you passionate about, and where are your skills? And I just kind of find that intersection where it was like, I really love self-development. I'm pretty cluey on the computer. I would just, press all the buttons, and I'd watch YouTube videos to find out how to market and so on, and how to set up a blog and that. So I figured, why don't I start a self-development website? And it's absolutely incredible. It just blew up from there.
Well, it didn't blow up. There's something that you did to make it blow up, right? Like whether it's you're missing the good stuff. I'm not going to let you get away with that one.
I feel like it did. Actually, I feel like it did, but I know what you mean. I definitely know what you mean.
Well, yeah. So let's start with the basics. Let's start with your goal at the time, your first goal, because I remember back when I was getting started, my first goal was to get a new television for my new apartment and a new mountain bike, because I used to race professionally and I had to pawn my bike to pay my bills as I was building my business. And so one of my first two goals was a TV for my place that I was renting and a bike. And not a huge thing, but that's really what motivated me. So, what was the first goal that you remember where it's just, man, if I could only do this, then I know that I'm on the right track?
Yeah, great question. So money was part of the motivation, to be honest, because I was really sick of commuting to and from work every day, sitting there for like 2 hours in traffic. I did the math. It was like 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, 400 something hours a year that I was just wasting my life. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something else out there. I always felt really unsettled. I always felt like there had to be more. So yeah, my first goal really was like, how much can I make out of this, in the sense of enough to be able to pay for the bills. Like you said before, like pay for the little parts of freedom, which would be, paying for my lunch, then paying for my cell phone bill, and then paying for my car payments and so on. And it was great because it's just every month that went by, I just saw it go up and up and up. And I remember, being able to pay for like my Subway meal. Then the next thing it would be car and mobile and everything else. It just kept racking up each and every month. And I got to the point where, I had to tell my pain in the ass boss that it was costing me too much to be there. And that was around about, just to give you an idea, probably around about 2 years in. And I didn't actually implement advertising or anything on my site until maybe about 10 months in. Because I was told not to flood my site with ads because it steers people away. So I was really focused on building a solid quality platform because I knew that it would pay off in the long run.
Right. And that's exactly what my next question was, what was your revenue model in the beginning, and has it transformed over the last couple of years?
Yeah, definitely. So in the beginning, when I didn't know too much about, products and courses and affiliates and mailing lists and all that, I just actually implemented Google AdSense ads. And in between now and way back then, I've had all these different publishing companies, advertising companies reaching out to me to ask me to publish their ads. And I've experimented. I've tried so many different things, man, to be honest. I've experimented with so many things, and I still do. It's you never know what converts the best. It's just, you got to get out there and give it a shot, and it's really opened my mind lately because I've connected with a lot of other online entrepreneurs recently. In the last year, I've really made an effort to connect with others that are playing in my space or playing in the same space as me. And it's just interesting to see how they are able to do it. Everyone's got a different way of doing it. Some people are stronger in areas that you may not be, but it's good to really have an idea of what's going on out there and grab the opportunities as they come by. And that would be anything from, selling ebooks to creating your own courses and marketing it to a list of your subscribers. Yeah, just anything like that. Consultations, events, things like that too. So yeah, it's interesting.
When you first set up the blog, you've got your template up, you've got your logo and the basic look and the feel, and now you've got to focus on the content, which is really the heart of your blog. So when you're first starting out, is this all you? Is it just you writing the content, or how did you approach that part of the business?
Yeah, so when I first started, I never looked at myself as a writer. I actually got like a D in English, and I was told that, I should just put it to the side and that wasn't something that I should focus on in my last year of studies. So for me, I had this thing where I'm like, I'm not a writer, but, I don't mind curating content and just writing a quick blurb about it. And it's funny, it kind of grew on me. Like I decided to step out and away from just writing little blurbs and actually starting to write my own articles, my own list articles and so on, which are quite easy to start with. If you wanted to get into writing, focus on the list articles first and then expand from there. And so the first year I was curating a lot of the content, like sharing videos that people had already produced, obviously giving credit to everybody that had produced those videos. And then I started reaching out to people and reposting articles and so on. And it was just things that interested me. And I found that it interested a lot of other people too, which I was very lucky with. I think you start to create a community around what you do, and that's really where the power is.
So let's define curating content real quick for folks out there who aren't aware of what that is.
Yeah. So what it would be is, if I come across something that I feel is good quality for my blog, I would grab that content in the sense of maybe copying the text that is there, reaching out to whoever wrote it first to ask for permission, or reaching out to the website that actually posted that article. If it's a video, then I would share that. But it's also making it unique in a way of rewriting, reorganizing it, adding to it, putting quotations in there, extra references, expanding on what was already put out. So that was what I was doing. I know some sites just rip the content off and paste it on theirs and post it. But I knew that wasn't the best way to go about it too. Yeah, I think I wanted that unique edge.
I think the best way that I could put it is a unique or expanded form of sharing. And,
yes.
Meaning that it's almost like Facebook when you hit the share button and then you add your own, take to your post before you hit share. And so you're giving the original author and the original site credit, and you're linking to them. And you're not trying to say that you wrote this. You're saying, hey, I found this great article that Mike Dillard posted, and, go check it out. Or, here's the gist of it, and here's my 2 cents, in addition to that. So that is what curating content is. And then is that what you guys continue to do today for the most part? Or do you have writers and contributors that come on specifically for you guys with original content?
No, yeah, that's a great question. So what actually happened was I started to write a lot of my own original content just after that year bracket. And I realized that it was getting received really well. And I was like, wow, okay. People are really loving this. There's a lot more comments on what I was writing. And because we really position ourselves as like the hub for self-development at that time, a lot of other writers stepped up and would send emails through and ask if they could feature their articles on our site. And that's when we were getting probably around about 20,000 views a day. So, I mean, it's still pretty good numbers for any blog. Now we're well past that, obviously, and we get a lot more contributors. So I think if you can really make it appealing, if you have a great community around what you do, I think that is really something that entices a lot of writers to want to be a part of it. Not just because of the reach they'll get, but also because they know that they're among others that put out quality. So that's what I really started to get. And I push really hard for any writers that send articles through. We want them to be pretty original. Mm-hmm. We run checks and everything to make sure that it's not posted elsewhere. And original content.
All right. So you've got content coming in. You've got content for the site. What strategy did you guys have for growth? Did you rely completely on organic growth? Did you do a little bit of SEO and optimization? How did you guys handle that?
Yeah, so I had an understanding of the basics of SEO. I knew that there were some advanced things you could do, and I read up on it. But for me, it was like just producing a lot of quality content, and not in the sense of a lot of like doing hundreds of posts a day. I mean, just being consistent with it. It's that quality and consistency that really puts you into that cut above the rest in any field, I believe. So that's what we really focus on. And also, that in itself allowed us to receive at least 50% of the traffic that was coming was from search engines, through Google. Obviously, the landscape's changed online now. A lot of, I heard a couple of days back that Facebook sends more people to articles on other websites than Google does now, which is amazing. So it's really about shifting and adapting and evolving to what changes in the whole online world. And I think that's really why we kind of stood the test of time, is because we've really made sure that we're on that curve. So I really keep my ear to the street. I really, see, what are people up to? What platforms are they on? Can we move there? Do we need a presence there? Is it important? Is it effective? And social media is really the other pool that we had coming from the other side, where that brought in a good 30% to 40% traffic. And it still does. It's a heavy hitter still. So,
you've got 318,000 Facebook fans. Where did those people come from? Is that simply folks who are liking and sharing your articles, or are you guys actively promoting your posts? How are you building your presence there?
No, look, I've maybe boosted a post a while back, like maybe twice, and didn't even put much money down. It was just to kind of test it and see how it goes. But I'd say a good 99% of those that have liked our pages have really done it because they love it organically. And that's really the key. I've grown on the website organically for the most part. I haven't paid for Google AdWords or anything like that. It's, if people like the content that you're putting out, they're going to want to come back. And that's really the key. Get them into your subscription list so you can keep them up to date. Make sure that you're consistent with your posts on social media. One thing lately, though, that I guess I'm not the only one kicking and screaming about it, but Facebook has really limited a lot of reach on articles that go out to websites, because they're trying to keep everybody inside Facebook. So the moment someone clicks it, they're leaving Facebook. So that's probably been one of the biggest hits that, like, any publishing platform has felt lately, and us included. So yeah, it's really shifting, like I said, with the times. Okay, how can we move people from Instagram? How can we move people from Twitter? Like, can we switch some things up to keep it fresh and exciting?
So in order to get really this mass of organic growth, if you will, you've got to be putting out a significant amount of content. What would you say y'all are putting out on a daily basis from an article point of view?
Yeah, one article a day. Usually we focus on one article a day, and we make sure that article is strong. Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, we make sure it's a strong article. This is the thing, you're better off spending 2/3 of your time promoting, marketing, getting it out there, and 1/3 of the time focusing on that article. But when you do focus on an article, make sure it is really good quality. Don't settle for anything less, right? I look back at the old articles that we have, and I'm very embarrassed to share a lot of the older stuff, because I just feel like I would never put that out now. We would never accept it. So yeah, it's just knowing where that bar is and not letting anything sit underneath it. There's been days where we haven't put anything up because we haven't had any contributors that come through, and maybe I haven't been able to put a post up. But we're like an independent international company. It's crazy because it's like, it's me. It's been me for like 4 years, and I just recently brought a guy by the name of Tyler on board who's the editor now, and he helps me manage A2S. And it's just crazy, like, what you can do with just one person or two people, and then also what you could do with a team of 10 or 20 or 30. So the lessons that we've learned so far is really that it really does come down to quality content, but it also comes down to being able to get that quality content in front of people, because the internet's so saturated now, right? Like you see what happens on these social media channels. It's just like Twitter, you put something up. If somebody has more than like 100 followers, they're probably not going to see that Twitter post within the next 5 or 10 minutes. It's going to go too far down the feed and you won't see it. And then Facebook are prioritizing people that are paying advertising unless they've got really quality content. So I actually like it because it forces people to put quality content out, and also forces people to engage, which is, our whole culture and mindset has been around, build community around what you do. And I think that's really how you have those long legacy wins with an online business.
No, that's great. That's great. I have the same philosophy when it comes to quality as well. When I'm writing an email or a blog post for my audience, I've gone literally a month, 4, 6, 8 weeks without sending a single email, because if I didn't have anything to say that I thought would be worth their time and that they would be glad that they read, I just didn't bother. I'd rather put something in front of them to where they know if Mike sends me an email, this has something of value in it and I should read it. And so I've kind of felt the same way. So where are you guys going from here? What is your goal with the business and personally over the next, let's say, 5 years?
Yeah, so I've really been building my personal brand lately. In the last year or so, I've really been stepping out, coaching hundreds and hundreds of aspiring entrepreneurs, and I have actually been holding morning motivation calls. So where it's like your success strategies, your tips that really help you to get past those barriers that you have in your life, and to really hold, the entrepreneurs that I mentor, hold them accountable to sticking to their habits and their goals, and really getting them to dig deep and find out what are those limiting beliefs. So that's been an amazing experience. I've had so many amazing testimonials that have come from that, and I've made great friendships with a lot of people in the groups as well. So that's what I've been focusing a lot lately. I'm writing a book at the moment, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of people because I've kind of gone left of field to what everybody expects me to come out with, which is exciting, man. I'm really excited for that to come out.
Can you give us a little hint on what that means?
Yeah, so I was actually approached by a couple of publishers to put out a how-to book, but I'm not putting out a how-to book. I'm going the other way because I do how-to all the time. This is I do the how-to thing, but I love the creative space. I love the challenge, so I'm going another route, and it's a risk because I don't have any publishers that are interested. I don't know if I have any publishers interested in what I'm about to do, but I don't care. I like being anything but ordinary. I like being extraordinary with what I do, and that's really where we're going. And I'm putting a lot of products and courses out as well as we go along, because I want to be able to impact as many lives as possible. We've done a lot with Addicted to Success, where we've reached nearly 62 million views worldwide. That's page views worldwide over the last 5 years. But there's something about being able to really put something together where you can reach people on a mass scale. I know that, you can hold events, but that takes a long time. I feel like, products online are really the place to get your advice and everything out there to be able to inspire others for change, for transformation. So that's really where we're taking it for the future of Addicted to Success.
Yeah, that's very good. And what goals do you have personally for yourself? You've got newly married. Do you have a family in the future? Is that something that you guys are looking at? Moving to a specific place in the world? What's on your mind in that regard?
Yeah, maybe family, not for a few years. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it's a good thing because Charlene and I are actually on the same page with that. We just feel like there's so much more we want to do. And, when it's time to have kids, you really want to be in a place where you have a great foundation, which we have, but, to have a foundation where we've really set ourselves up with something that we can really let it run on its own two legs. She's doing her own spiritual thing. She's more spiritual than I am. I'm kind of like the business guy. She's like the spiritual girl. So, we work together really well in that sense. And for the future, it's really, putting out books, man. I've really fallen in love with writing. It's been the biggest thing for me lately is just I love being in that creative space. So, and I never would have come across writing if it wasn't for starting a blog. And, it's just funny, you never know where life can really take you. You just got to get out there. You got to be a mad freaking scientist and experiment as often as possible.
Well, that's exactly what happened with me. I had never, ever considered writing any book or anything. And then, I wrote Magnetic Sponsoring as a training manual for my team. And it was just a 60-page training document that I put a spiral binding on, and it started to get a lot of attention. So I turned it into an ebook that I sold for $40 a piece. And before I know it, I'm selling $50,000 a month in this ebook. And,
wow.
Which is crazy. And
Congrats.
it was never edited. Never. It was, filled with spelling and all kinds of punctuation mistakes, and it sold hundreds of thousands of copies to this day. So you never know. Yeah, but if you have something that you are excited to share with the world and that you think has a lot of value to it, you can be amazed at what that can turn into. And so I totally understand.
That's amazing. I didn't know that about you, Mike. Thanks for sharing that, man. That's very inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It turned into that ebook, turned into a publishing company with, I'd say, 10 different products and courses. I think the most we did was around 6.5 million in sales in a year, way back when in my first business. And it went from there. But that became my career, I guess, is writing. So pretty interesting stuff.
Exciting.
Now,
awesome.
Before this thought loses me, because I'm sitting here as we're talking and I'm going through the blog, and one of the things that stands out immediately is that you guys really have a lot of images. You definitely have a title image for every single post that you do, which I think is a must these days. We live in such a visual society. Are you guys getting these images from stock photo websites, the authors' websites? Are you pulling those from their site along with the article and adding a title to it? How do you find great images, which is really the question that I'm after?
No, that's a really valid question. So what we do is we're pretty vigilant with reaching out to any photographers that have taken that photo and ask them for permission, and we do a lot of them ahead of time. So if we come across anything that we feel as we're surfing around, feel that it would be really great for an article at some point, we reach out and ask for permission. And it's amazing. You'd find that most people are actually pretty open to it. As long as they've got their name there as a credit under the picture, they're happy to do that. There are a lot of people that do put pictures out, and it gets to the point where there's, a photographer could be making money from that picture and they just see that hundreds of websites have already used it, and it just kind of goes down the drain for them because they can't go around sending cease and desist to everybody and expect that it will all be taken down. So, I love creativity. I love art. I'm a big fan of, the creative world. And I think that just to show respect, you should really reach out to others and see if, the picture is available to post. For the most part, I think most people are really happy to get that exposure. And that's really what's helped us along the way. So yeah, that's really how we do it.
Cool.
Sometimes I have signed up for Shutterstock and a bunch of stock image websites. And we now and then we use them, we go in and you pay yearly to lease those pictures, and you just pay again that next year once it's up to be able to use those images. But I feel like a lot of people use stock images, and it kind of kills the uniqueness of the article if using an image that somebody else has used for another article and a viewer sees that and goes, oh, I've already read that article, when really they haven't. And they might get great value from it. So we'll do what we can to be unique, that's for sure.
Very good, very good. And what have been the biggest lessons that you guys have learned, or that you've learned? What's been the biggest challenge? Like if you could go back and avoid that mistake, what would that be?
Yeah, I think really the biggest thing that I've learned, isn't so much a challenge. The biggest thing I've learned is it's those little 1%ers. It's the small shifts that make a huge difference over time. It's as simple as us forgetting about maybe promoting through a certain social media channel, or not doing it as much as we usually do, and then seeing that 2%, 3% decrease at the end of the month. And for me, when I look at that, I don't look at it from a monetary point of view, like, oh, we've lost like a little bit of income with ads, because that doesn't really mean too much. There's other ways to monetize, but it's more so, we were only able to impact this many people when really we could have impacted this many. That's really the biggest thing for me. And I feel, Tyler as well, who's on board, and anybody else that contributes and helps us really feels the same way too, where they just want to be able to reach as many people as possible and help them and inspire them to really grow. So yeah, it's a little 1%ers, the 2%ers. It's making sure that we're not dropping in quality in any way. So yeah, they're really the things that I'd say has been something that keeps us on our toes for sure.
Yeah, I just clicked on, I don't know if you heard that, I clicked on a podcast here, and that's one thing that I think is worth noting on your site, your podcast feed is on autoplay. So if you click on a particular episode, it just dives right into the audio there, which I think is super important. Same for videos as well.
Yeah.
Now, you're talking about your stats and 2 to 3% drop one month, 2 to 3% growth another month. How are you guys tracking those numbers? Are you using a particular platform or dashboard to track all of your links and all of the traffic that's coming?
Yeah, Google Analytics, and also I check in on Google AdSense every couple of weeks or every week.
Got it.
Just to see if there's any shifts. I mean, when you're looking at ads, you can't really tell because it's some of it based off clicks, some of it's based off how much the advertisers are paying as well for the ads and how much money is going into advertising for that quarter. So it doesn't give you a great number. Google Analytics is the best that I've found so far. I mean, there's a lot of other tools out there, but I just really go to the source, man. I really go to Google Analytics, and yeah, it's been great, man. It's
very cool. And it's free,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
It's free. That's right.
Awesome. So Joel, so beyond the actual blog and the traffic and all of the content that we've been discussing, clearly the part of this that you have been most in love with has been the personal development side. Personally, that's what inspired you to start the site and to provide these resources and tools to other people. You've worked with and interviewed some of the biggest names in the business like Tony Robbins and T. Harv. What have been the biggest lessons that you have learned that you could share with the listeners today?
Yeah, one of the biggest lessons, I mean, a lot of the people I interview just really helped me to shift my perspective. If there's a perspective that isn't really serving me, they shift me to another level to really see the world in a different way, which is more positive, or maybe it challenges me more to change my way of thinking. So yeah, I take lessons from every podcast episode. One episode that really resonated with me well was the one that I did with Tony Robbins, who's obviously an industry great. It's no surprise, but Tony, I asked him, how can we be better in the industries that we're in? How can we really stand apart and make sure that, we're not the ones that are losing quality, and that we can, really step it up in our industry? And he just said to me, he said, the greatest advantage you'll ever have in business is truth. The only way that you'll gain truth is through experience. And it's funny because, when you ask these questions, sometimes you just feel like where's that golden nugget? Where's that key? Where's that just that one thing that will absolutely change my life? And the way he shared it was so elegant, the way he shared it to me and to the listeners, but it's so simple at the same time. It's like what he's saying is just you got to get out there. You have to. And then, then you can build off that. When you're selling your products, you're marketing yourself, or you're on social media, or you're building your business, it's all based off the experience that you have. That's why I love traveling so much and seeing the world and networking with as many people. It just expands my mind, and it allows me to really see, who I'm reaching in the world. And it really gives you that kind of mass appeal feel, because you now know what more of the majority want than just kind of staying in your little circle or your little hub and where you are and being closed-minded. So it's really about having that growth mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. What else would you share with the audience on keys to success? We've got a lot of men and women on here specifically who are in the process of building a business for the very first time. We've got some who are very, very successful already, and what else can you share with them?
Yeah, that's great, man. So I'd say that your business only grows to the extent that you do. And what I believe is that success is a habit. More of what you do is more of who you become. And I am really big on this is what I coach a lot of my students on, is there's really the four I've found after interviewing hundreds of successful individuals in the world, extraordinary people. I found there seems to be this pattern that keeps occurring, right, with their advice and with their stories that they share. And what I found is that it comes down to these four major things. And it's finding your values, right? Identifying your values and then tying your values to your goal. And then you've got your beliefs, which is your attitude, right? What you believe you're capable of, right? What is your potential, and how can you achieve this, right? Believing that it's going to happen. And then there's habits, which is the persistence, which we've heavily focused on with Addicted to Success is just making sure each and every day there's that quality there. It's the consistency with the posts and everything else, right? So there's the habits and then there's the skills. Okay, you're not going to be great at everything, but it pays to jump on. Like we've got Udemy, we've got YouTube, we've got Khan Academy. There's all these different platforms online now where you have no excuse to say that like, I don't know how to do this or that. You jump online and you learn how to do it. Skills are so valuable if you can learn them and put them into practice. Sometimes you don't need to put things into practice. It's having that understanding so that when you work with somebody or bring somebody into your business or in your team, that you have an understanding of what their skill is and at least the basics of what is possible, so that way you can better work with your team to create success in your company.
Agreed. That's been the drum that I've been beating for many, many years now. Every time someone asks me what the secret to success is, it's mastering a skill set, and it's that skill set that allows you to execute on your business, and execution is what allows you to get the result. And one of the things that you mentioned in here a little bit earlier, which I found to be completely true as well, is that success is in the details. And so when you mentioned, what are the 1 or 2% little moves that we missed or we made in a given month that made a big impact, where they were tiny in and of themselves, but, over the course of time, they compound into a substantial result or lack of results. It's totally true. And it's attention to detail and the biggest way. And, I'll focus and play around with a single word in a headline for half an hour, where most people would probably just write the first thing that comes to their mind. I'll literally sit there and agonize over one word, so it's, but that's where the success is, because that's what makes the actual difference. And so I absolutely agree with you, on that as well. So,
yeah. And just to kind of go back on what you were saying too, that, the more you do that, the better you become at it as well. In terms of having that, your intuition starts to pick up more and more. But when it comes to headlines now, it doesn't take me long to recognize whether it's going to do, like you're never going to know 100% if something's going to be viral or anything like that. But I can kind of tell, like when I look at it, I'm like, that's not going to do too well. Let's not run with that. And if we did, we've put stuff out before and I've had that feeling because I've done it so many times. I had that feeling and it just doesn't work. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start trusting my gut a little bit more. That's like that. Subconscious that's telling you don't do it.
Absolutely.
So there's all that data you're putting into your subconscious. You got to pay attention to it sometimes.
Absolutely. That's the 10,000 hours of mastery there. Very good. So, what would you tell folks who are starting a business for the first time? Let's say they started something, they started a business a month ago, and it's very basic, but what would be the very first thing that you would do personally if you were starting over from scratch?
Look, I would say that whatever you're doing, make sure that it's something where you have that feeling of going all in, that you're ready to commit to it, that it's going to be that one thing that you put all your energy to. A lot of people say that, time is the most important commodity, but I really believe that energy is, because it depends on, how you use your day. It's really how much are you going to expel within that day and how much you're going to really drive your business to the level of success that it needs for it to grow to that level that you have on your vision board or that you've casted or that you have set in your goals. So yeah, it's really focusing on that one thing with all your energy. I think a lot of people have ideas and ideas are cool, but they're not amazing. What's amazing is having the idea and executing it. And it doesn't matter if you fail. What matters is, are you putting it into practice? Are you experimenting with that idea? And are you at least trying and giving it a go? So yeah, I would really say find that one thing and make sure you follow it through. There's a lot of floaters out there and scatterbrains. You got to focus on that one thing.
Yeah, no, agreed. We used to call those opportunity junkies years ago, and in my first industry, because people continue to chase the opportunity, thinking that is where success will be found, but it never actually is. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier, when it comes to getting a result, is that you have to become a person who is capable of getting the result that you want. And
yes,
people who jump around are trying to go around that process, which they will eventually come to the conclusion is impossible, as I did after trying to do that for 5 or 6 years, back when I was in college. So a lot of truth and wisdom here, my friend. And what is coming up next for you guys here in the rest of the year? When's the book coming out? What's next on the list that people can look forward to seeing come out from you guys?
Yeah, so the book won't be out for, you know what? I can't give you a date. And the reason being is because I don't care how long it takes.
Got it.
If it takes 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever. Like, to me, a book is a really sacred thing. When you walk into a bookstore, for me, it's like walking into a temple. Like, I love looking at the books on the shelves and just really admiring the fact that somebody sat there and put their heart and soul into it. If it's made, to a bookshelf and it has bestseller on it and whatever, like whether that's the marketing that's done it or if it's the writing, whatever, if I see that same book in every single store that I go into, I'll definitely pick that up. And that's something that I want my book to have that effect too. So there's no real time constraint on the book that I'm putting out. We are going more into a lot of collaborations for events and sponsorships, more podcast episodes, expanding the team, more writers. You're going to hear a lot more from Addicted to Success, maybe some more video media content as well. Because at the end of the day, we're a media company and we're putting content out online that really, to have that effect, we need to make sure we're crossing every area, which is, your auditory, your visual, kinesthetic, and everywhere else. So that's really my goal. Yeah.
You mentioned in the beginning that you were starting to focus more on your own personal brand. What do you want your brand to mean? What do you want it to stand for?
Self-development. That's the number one value in my life. It's this thing that I really just like, it lights me up, just learning and growing and, evolving as a human being. And I think that that's really, if I could be the ambassador for that, I'd be pretty happy. I'd be pretty happy to be labeled something like that and to really, inspire others to self-develop. I found it to be amazing when I get an email from somebody that's like, I never really read books or I never was into self-development, but my friend posted something on their wall and I saw it and I liked the picture. I found the title interesting and that got, that opened my world and now I'm into self-development. Like, I love hearing that because I feel that that's really, it's not the full key to happiness, but I think that we're all here to do extraordinary things. I think everyone here is extraordinary, but we can all experience a even better life if we step outside the comfort zone. So I feel that, if I'm able to inspire the millions to step outside their comfort zone, I'll be more than happy with that.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a life well lived to me. So that is super cool, brother. Well, I am so grateful for the time this morning. It is, a subject and a story that I've been personally interested in for a while, as far as, building a blog and the ins and outs of it. And you guys have just killed it, which has just been awesome to hear how you did it. And the fact that there are no gimmicks or little tricks, that you've been using. It's hard work. It's time, times valuable, content and quality and, kind of old school stuff, believe it or not. Who would have known that still works, right? So,
no shortcuts, man. No shortcuts.
No, and I just think that's a story that people need to hear, and it's been the same in my world as well. Everybody's chasing the latest marketing gimmick or whatever it may be, and I'm just like, guys, it's two things: put out unbelievably valuable content and build an authentic relationship with your audience, and everything else will totally take care of itself.
For sure. And I love what Gary Vaynerchuk says as well. He says that marketers ruin everything.
Right. And
it's so true, right? When you see a new social media platform come out, you better be quick.
Yes.
So it's about seeing those opportunities and acting as fast as you can to get on it and get ahead of it. Stay ahead of the curve. That's really what it's about, especially in the online space, because it's expanding and advancing so fast that you need to be on your toes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much for joining us here from Bali. I know it's getting late into the evening with you, and it's around dinner time. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule and your day to come onto the show and to share your words of wisdom. This has been unbelievably valuable, and obviously I will be following your work and looking forward to the book whenever it's done this year or next year. We'll obviously share that with the audience and the list as well. So thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it, mate. Thanks a million. And I hope that your audience took a lot of value from this. I'll definitely be checking out more episodes of your podcast, man, because I really believe in being self-made and really working hard and hustling your way to the top. So thanks, man. Thanks for making me, another member and another person that is invited on this podcast, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Joel. And guys, make sure you go check out Joel and addictedtosuccess.com and the blog. Follow him on social media, model what he's doing, look at what he's doing, pay attention to it, and obviously take the opportunity to learn from what they're putting out. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week.